The next method we're going to use to solve a system of equations by matrices is called Cramer's Rule, and it's very dependent on determinants, okay? So the first sentence right there on your worksheet says, Cramer's Rule is a method of solving a system of equations using determinants. If the determinant of the coefficient matrix is 0, then the system is dependent, and it cannot be solved using Cramer's Rule. In this case, a different method must be employed. Okay, so the ones that I've given us to use will all be able to be solved using Cramer's Rule, but that's just something I needed you to know about. Okay, so what will you be asked to do by hand? When we learned how to do determinants, I said you would have to know how to do a 2 by 2 determinant by hand. So in example 2, which is a 2 by 2 system, if I ask you to solve by Cramer's Rule, you should find those determinants by hand, okay? If I ask you to do a 3 by 3 system using Cramer's Rule, you may use your calculator to find those determinants if you so choose. Okay, so here we go. This is how you solve a system using Cramer's Rule. Number 1 is this system, negative x, is negative x minus y plus 6z is negative 13, and 2x plus z is negative 10, and 5x plus 2y plus 5z is negative 20. All right, so what you'll do, I'm sure I will ask you to write the matrix equation. So write the matrix equation. AX equals to B. All right, so this is going to be negative 1, 2, 5, negative 1, 0, 2, 6, 1, 5, negative 13, negative 10, negative 20. All right, do I like that? Yep, I do. Okay, so then what you'll see is I just have some D and D sub X and D sub Y and D sub Z. Let me show you what those mean. D stands for the determinant of the coefficient matrix. So D is equal to this, the determinant of this, negative 1, 2, 5. Negative 1, 0, 2, 6, 1, 5. And so in an earlier video, we discussed how to find the determinant. If you want to use your calculator to find the determinant, you would go to second matrix, and you would enter, you would hit edit, second matrix, you would pick a matrix, and you would edit it, and you would put in a 3 by 3. And you would put in this matrix right there, and then you would hit second quit, and then you would go to second matrix, and you would toggle over to the math button, and the first thing you can select there is DET, which stands for determinant, and then you would go to second matrix, enter the matrix you want to take the determinant, hit enter, and it's going to pop out the number for you. That's how you can use your calculator for that, and you are allowed to do that for a 3 by 3. I might not do that because I don't think it's so hard to find the determinant by hand, so I might just do it by hand, but you are allowed to use your calculator. Okay, find the determinant of this guy. Now, what is the D sub X and the D sub Y? This is what D sub X is. Negative 1, D sub X is where it's the determinant matrix, but the X column, and this is the X, right? This is the X, this is the Y, this is the Z. The X column is replaced, and what is it replaced with? The solutions matrix. So right here, this is negative 13, negative 10, negative 20, but the rest of the matrix is the same. Negative 1, 0, 2, 6, 1, 5. Okay. D sub Y is the determinant, negative 1, 2, 5, 6, 1, 5, but the middle term is replaced, negative 13, negative 10, negative 20. All right. D sub Z is going to be the coefficient matrix, negative 1, 2, 5, negative 1, 0, 2. However, the Z column is replaced with the solutions, negative 13, negative 10, negative 20. All right, I'm sure that I will ask you to write that down. You may use your calculator, but there's a lot of typing involved. So what I'm going to do, just so that this video isn't painfully long, I'm going to type in one of the determinants, and then I'm just going to tell you what the answers are for the rest of them so that you don't have to watch me type numbers. Okay, so let me find the determinant of D. Let's make sure we start off that. So this is what I would do if I was using my calculator. And then I'll do this one by hand, and then I won't do those. I'll just tell you the answer. Okay. So I would go to second matrix, and I would go to edit, and I would say I want a 3 by 3. And then I would put -1, -1, 6, -1, -1, 6. And then I'd say 2, 0, 1. And then I'd say 5, 2, 5. And then I would say, did I put in the right things? Dun, 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 dun. And I did, okay? So then I'm going to second matrix and go to math and hit 1. And it says, what matrix should I take the determinant of? And I'll say, do it for the first one. And so I do that, and I press that button, and I get 31 is my answer. So that's how you can use it with your calculator. This is 31. Real quick by hand, I'm going to do this method. I'm going to say this times this times this is a 0. -1 times 1 times -20 is a 20. And then I have a 6 times a 2, which is 12, times -10 is -120. Minus, let's go backwards. 5 times 10 is a 50. 2 times 1 times negative is -26. And this is a 0. Okay. I get 0 plus 20 minus 120 is -100. Minus 50 minus 26 is 24. I get -124. So d sub x is -124. All right, that was by hand. So I think it's easy to do by hand, but I don't care which way you do it. Then let me just tell you what the other one should be. D sub y, if you plug that in or did it some way, you should get 155. D sub z, the determinant of this matrix is -62. All right, so that's beautiful. We have all our determinants. Why do we care? Because once you have the determinants, that's the hard part, which is not even that hard. X, it equals to the division of d sub x over d. This guy's determinant divided by this. -124 divided by 31, which equals to -4. Y is going to be d sub y divided by d, which is 155 divided by 31, which is 5. Z is going to be d sub z divided by d, which is -62 divided by 31, which is -2. -4, 5, -2 is the solution. That is our ordered triple. Cool, that's Cramer's rule. Now, let's do number 2, and we're going to do this one completely by hand, because it's just a baby 2 by 2. All right, so 2 by 2 goes like this. All right, solve the following systems by hand using Cramer's rule. Here we go. 4x minus 4y is a 28. Minus 3x plus 2y is a -17. All right, so I'm sure I'll say write the matrix equation. And so, hey, could you call Isla? She's trying to call me right now, but I can't answer. David. Thanks. All right, this is our matrix equation. 28, -17. All right, so Cramer's rule is a bunch of determinants. So let's find D. I'm sure that I'll ask you to write this down. 4, -3, -4, 2. d sub x, replace the x column with this, 28, negative 17, negative 4, 2. D sub y, replace the y column. All right, just like that. So this is really easy. 4 times 2 is 8, minus negative 4 times negative 3 is 12. 8 minus 12 is negative 4. Okay, d sub x is 28 times 2, that's a 56, minus 17 times 4, 68. Is that right? Yeah, 68, minus 68. So what's 68 minus 56 is a 2, this is negative 12. Negative 12, okay. This is negative 17 times 4, 8. Okay, it's negative 68 minus a negative 28 times 3 is 24, 6 and 8, 84. So it's negative 68 plus 84. 84 minus 68. What is this going to be? 14. That's a 7. That's a 6. That's a 1. It's going to be a 16. This is 16. Okay, cool. So, now I have my determinants. How do I get my answers? I will get my answers from x is d sub x divided by d, or negative 12 divided by negative 4, which is 3. dy is, y is d sub y divided by d, and that's 16 divided by negative 4. Negative 4. My solution to this is 3, negative 4. So, that's how you can use Cramer's rule by hand for a 2 by 2, and I will ask you to do that. All right, now the last thing is another word problem because I want us to get good at setting these up. So here we go. And how you solve this, I don't care how you solve this. You can use reduced row echelon form or Cramer's rule or whatever you choose, okay? But I want you to use a matrix method, not algebra, okay? So I'd like you to use that. But let's set this up. Let me show you how to set this up. Should be this. So it is another mixture problem. It says a sparkling water distributor wants to make 300 gallons of sparkling water to sell for $6 per gallon. She wishes to mix 3 grades of water selling for $9 per gallon, $3 per gallon, $4.50 per gallon. She must use twice as much of the $4.50 as the $3 water. How many gallons of each should she use? So, I'm going to set up my beakers. Here's my first water, my second type of water, my third type of water, and all together it's going to be mixed into this big vat over here. When I read the problem, how much does she want to make? It says the sparkling water distributor wants to make 300 gallons. This is how much I want to have at the end. 300 gallons. Okay, and then it says how much is it supposed to sell for? My product at the end after I do the mixture is supposed to sell for $6 per gallon. So this is the price of the final product. Okay, so what happened along the way? It says she wishes to mix 3 grades. One sells for how much? One is for $9 per gallon, expensive. One is $3 per gallon, cheap. And one is $4.50 per gallon. All right, so how much? I don't know. Put in your amounts. Now, the last sentence here, it says she must use twice as much of the $4.50 as the $3. She has to use twice as much of this as she does the $3. Twice as much of this as she does. So she has to use twice as much of the $4.50 as she does the $3. So that means that Z, the amount that Z is, has to equal to twice 2 times Y. Okay, so that is the equation that we'll get from that statement. So make sure that you write that down carefully. Lots of people do not. So let's write our equations. One equation comes from the amounts. X plus Y plus Z is 300. The second one is price times amount, 9, 3, 450 is equal to price times amount. And 6 times 300 is 1,800. So I'm going to go ahead and make that calculate, 1,800. All right, now, the last equation, it said that she has to use twice as much of the $4.50 as the $3. So this has got to be the most, is the bigger amount. Okay, so that's twice as much as that. Okay, so how I set this up is I'm going to back this up. So it's going to be minus 2y plus z is 0. I'm going to write the matrix equation. 1, 9, 0. 1, 3, negative 2. 1, 4, 51. And I think I chose to do this one by RREF because it's so easy. And so I put it in my calculator and I made the augmented matrix. And then I put the 3 by 4 augmented matrix in there and pressed RREF. And this is what it told me. So if I ask you to write down the RREF form, this is what you should write down. My answers were 120, 60, and 120. This is what I got. And so if I had to write some words with this, I would say she should use 120 gallons of the $9 water. 60 gallons of the $3 water, and 120 gallons of the $4.50 water in order to get 300 gallons of a $6 blend of water. Okay, that is Cramer's Rule.